Kind of moving on, getting into just overall wide receivers on the Ravens roster. And if Joshua comes back, we'll most likely talk about, you know, his wide receivers and things like that. But, wide receivers on the Ravens roster, we don't know exactly what's going to happen about when it comes to who's going to be here next year because everybody keeps talking about, including myself, well, we got to draft a wide receiver. Maybe draft 2 wide receivers. I would agree with that statement. I would believe in that statement. However, if you do that, you're not going to be able to keep every wide receiver that you have on your roster. You're going to lose players. So I think the Ravens, personally, I think the Ravens are going to keep either Demarcus Robinson or Sammy Watkins. I think they're going to lean Demarcus Robinson. I think he played a little bit better last year. And I think Lamar liked him. It seemed like Lamar liked him. And he also didn't play well enough to be like, other teams trying to get him for more money. I think he fit really well. He could be a really solid wide receiver 3. He'd be a great wide receiver 4 for the Ravens, but I think he may leave. And Joshua's coming back in here, so we can talk about that right here. Joshua, are you back? You with us?
Well, I'm here, man. I'm here, man.
All right. Kind of talking about. I'm talking about wide receivers on the Ravens roster.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think? Do you think the Ravens? Just quickly ask you. Do you think the Ravens bring back either or both Demarcus Robinson or Sammy Watkins?
I think they let go of Sammy Watkins. I feel like Sammy Watkins was just brought back for a depth purpose, but I do feel like they do actually bring back Demarcus Robinson. He did show a lot of promise. We all know what Demarcus Robinson can do when he's the 4th and 5th option. We really demanded a lot out of him this past year because wide receivers went down. Did he always show up? No and yes. Did he make it count when he did show up? Absolutely. I mean, we're still smoking on the Eli Apple pack to this day. He hit him, I still remember that route. He hit that boy. Like everybody's hit Eli Apple with a route, but Demarcus Robinson route was, it was something nasty. But I definitely feel like we keep Demarcus Robinson. We let go of Sammy Watkins. We definitely gotta get us some cigars, man, for sure.
Yeah, and I agree. Right before you joined, I said I feel like we keep Demarcus Robinson. So, I definitely agree with that. So if we do that, and let's say we draft, 1 or 2 wide receivers, right there, looking at the Ravens depth chart, just going off the top of my head, we've got, Bateman, Demarcus Robinson, Proche, Tylan Wallace, Duvernay, potentially Shamar Bridges, Benjamin Victor, rookie wide receiver, maybe another rookie wide receiver. That's 9 people that I just named. Yeah. I feel like the Ravens probably only keep 6 wide receivers, which means I think we wouldn't have Shamar Bridges or Benjamin Victor on the roster. But I feel like we are going to lose either Proche or we're going to lose Tylan Wallace this offseason.
You know what?
Do you feel that?
Honestly, I'm gonna take it a step further. I feel like we lose Tylan, James, and Devin Duvernay. I feel like we do a real haul. Like Devin Duvernay, if you can shop him to the Jets or the Giants, I feel like that's a good move. James Proche, he just really never had a chance over here. I believe Braxton Berrios is also a possible free agent. Braxton Berrios can give you more production than Devin Duvernay and James Proche ever did here in the Baltimore Ravens. I'm not taking nothing from neither one of those guys. I love them. I know McConnell, you loved them. I think both of them in their college career combined had maybe about 3 or 4 drops. So we was expecting, all hands type of deck, But I mean, obviously, Devin Duvernay was used as a gadget guy. James Proche, as much as he did all the working out, the training during the offseason, he just never really got his chance, especially when he went down with the injury beginning of last offseason. So I feel like, those guys will get a better opportunity in a different situation with a different organization. So, and even with Tylan Wallace, everybody was like, "Oh, Tylan Wallace is the next coming Steve Smith Sr." I felt it too, but once again, another guy that's been pushed down the depth chart. 2 wide receivers that haven't been that great, haven't really produced, always been injured, and Tylan Wallace was a special teams guy. He became a special teams guy, and if you come in the league as a wide receiver, especially if you've been putting up crazy numbers in college, I know people are going to say anything to the press and talk about, I'll do anything for the team to be on the field, XYZ. But in all reality, come on. You've been playing wide receiver since, maybe 10 years. You done did all the work in college, as a wide receiver. You've been in the race for the Belentikov. Your name has been ringed in so many different type of bells. When people talk about you, sports analysts for the and scouting reports, they give you player comparisons. You're supposed to be that guy. But then when you get to a Ravens organization who don't know how to really develop wide receivers, that's where the problem starts. And these guys are not really making a name for themselves until they go somewhere else. Everybody thought Kadarius, prime example, with the Giants. Everybody thought Kadarius Toney was not going to be able to produce. What did the Kansas City Chiefs do? They made a trade for Kadarius Toney, and he ended up pretty much being one of the vocal parts in this past Super Bowl and helping them win. So, hey, it just really takes a change of scenery for some guys. So I think Devin and James really deserve a change of scenery to be, the wide receivers that they really, sought themselves out to be in this NFL.
Yeah, and I can see that. For me personally, I think I'm going to say that Tylan Wallace stays purely because of the special teams. And we have to remember, this is a new coaching staff. This is a new play caller. So this training camp, this offseason, their goal is to prove to him, because he doesn't know, what film is Monken watching on Tylan Wallace and James Proche? There's very little. There's very little film. So in practice, they're going to have to show him that he's legit. Someone that's really interesting is James Proche has been a practice dog. Every offseason, we're like, man, James Proche standout practice. James Proche standout practice. I wonder if he looks at that and he goes, oh man, we have someone really good. And maybe uses him like a guy like Chris Godwin, who he had, in Tampa Bay. So that's something that I can see as potential. Devin Duvernay is interesting. I'm not convinced Devin Duvernay is going to be here this year, because I think the Ravens can try and trade him, because
either swap for Elijah Moore, rookie contract.
Yeah,
me personally, that's
I think we would get more than Elijah Moore if we traded for him. But teams want a kick returner. They want a gadget guy. I don't know if Todd Monken's going to want kind of a gadget guy. And again, Devin Duvernay can be more. It's just really difficult because we're only going to we're very unlikely to re-sign Devin Duvernay just because he's a good special teams player. He's a good returner, and that's valuable. And teams are going to want to pay that, and they're going to try and lure him as hey, you can also be a wide receiver here too. And I think the Ravens are drafting a number 1 or a number 2 wide receiver this year. So that reduces his role. And I think he could get more. I think he could actually demand good trade value. We could probably get a 4 for him, or potentially a little bit better, depending on the offer from the team. But, I'm going to say that I don't think Duvernay's here. And I'm going to say I do think that James Proche is here, as well as Tylan Wallace, just because I feel like those are guys that in practice have been very good. And I think Todd Monken is going to want to see them. But I also don't know if we trade Duvernay before the draft, just because it's we don't have practice until Todd Monken doesn't get to see these guys in practice or in training until after the draft. And so I feel like I'm kind of talking myself out of it. Maybe I think all 3 are going to be here. And we only draft 1 wide receiver and we keep 7. I think that's what I'm sticking with, because I'm we can trade Duvernay. And I'm wait a minute. There's no way you trade your wide receiver 2 before your coach ever gets to see him. Unless Todd Monken comes in and he's when you hire me, we got to get rid of this guy. We're done with him. Maybe he did that with Patrick Ricard, but we'll see. We'll see. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts. I don't think we keep Victor. I don't think we keep Shamar Bridges. Practice squad maybe, but I don't think they're on the roster at all. I don't think they're competing for a spot. Last year, it was Benjamin Victor and Shamar Bridges were low key competing.
Yeah, they got to make they'll this off season. If they're there, they'll definitely be there for summer camps and everything like that. But they will have to they got to be spectacular.
Yeah,
they got to really catch Todd Monken's eye to hey, this could be my next, George Pickens. This could be my next big threat, things of that nature. So I definitely agree with that for sure.
Yeah. And then